Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are looking into how to create indicator filters around RSM. RSM stands for Relative Strength Index Mansfield. So this is the very important indicator, and then let user to compare as underlying security with overall market performance, and then get your idea is your security is outperform the overall market or underperform a sec- another security, etc. So this is give you a precisely the relative strength. Um, we have already spent a entire video tutorial for this particular indicator in our indicator playlist. You can looking for that video tutorial and have a look at that contents, and then I come back to this one. So in this one, we just basically focus on how to create the indicator filters around this RSM. Okay, so let's go into our application. We can do a quick review of what is the relative strength Mansfield's doing. If I close that one, so first of all, I'm open up a ABP stock. So as you can see, if you want to bring up the RSM, relative strength Mansfield, so you need to go into the indicator here and point to RSM. Once you click on it, it asks you to select another security. So usually you want to compare the security or stock with the overall market. So in this data, we are just uploaded the AXJO. So that one is the Australia Top 200 Market Index. Right, so we compare this ABP with the overall market, and if you select data and it start to calculate the Mansfield indicator and drop a line here. Okay, so that's the Mansfield indicator looks like. So it uses a center line. So center line's value is 0. Okay, so above is the positive values, and you also can get the negative value. If this indicator value is bigger, it's larger than 0, it's a positive value. That means at the moment your security is outperforming the market. If it resides on the negative region, if this value is negative, that stays below the 0 line, which means the underlying security is underperforming the market. You also have a fill path option here if you checked here. So very straightforward. If you see the green color here, and that means the value is above the 0 line, so that's outperforming the market at the moment. As you can see here, the ABP stock is outperforming the market. But in this period of time, the value is always below the 0 line, which means this particular security in this period of time is underperforming the market. Yeah, so this is a very quick overview for what is indicators doing. So let's take a look the how can we create the indicator filters for this particular for this particular indicator. So there are two information right here. So first of all, is the value is it's significant. So there are a couple of takeaways for here for this particular indicator. First of all, is the value itself. If the value is positive, larger than 0, means it is currently outperforming the market. So the value, right, and also the direction. If this RSM indicator is sloping up, right, means it's improving its performance, and then so it's improving its performance. So if it is also above the 0 line, that means more bullish signal. That means continuing. That means the security at the moment is outperforming the market, and it is continuing outperform the market and even stronger. So it's moving in a stronger direction. If you here, as you can see, the RSM, if it is sloping down, the direction is sloping down. So that means a bearish signal, which means it is the securities performance is weakening, and it starts to underperform the market. Once it breaks the zero line and go into the negative territory, that means the security is underperforming the market and keep moving and keep weakening, right? So there are a couple of points we need to be careful is this value itself and also the direction. Okay, so let's take a look what the functions can this indicator support to let us create indicator filters. First of all, let's bring up the indicator filter management and right click on the root and select add filter. If you right click, it pops up that menu, context menu. If you select add filter, it adds a default filter for us. At the moment, this indicator filter has no condition, and also name, everything is default. Don't worry about the name at the moment. Let's add a condition by clicking the add a condition button. So as you can see, we already selected RSM into that drop down list, so we can select it here. The RSM stands for relative strength Mansfield. So once I select this RSM, so you can see the configuration items changes, right? So that's RSM related configuration. So first of all is you need to specify a time period, the average on number. So we'll calculate based on it's similar with the moving average. You need to give it an average on value. So default, we can put 52 weeks for this indicator. We usually put a year, so that's 52 weeks. Chart type, obviously we select the weekly chart. So the most important thing, this one we don't need to worry about it because it's any. We can specify any value, so we ignore that code left. The code right means which security we want to compare to, or in index value we need to compare to. So if you click this dot button, and it pops out a selection dialog here. So we're looking for the overall market. In here is our circumflex symbol here, and AXJO. That means the that values holds all the index value for top 200 Australia market in my data. So I select this one. So in yours could be different, but here let's select this AXJO. Okay. Now finally, let's take a look at a couple of the functions we provided here for the RSM. All right. So first one, value, previous value. This is look very familiar because that's a standard function list. Same with the other types. Let's just go back to our documentation first and see what we can see from here. So indicator, filter, function, documentation. We click that, we go into the documentation page. Let's take a look at those functions descriptions here. So RSM sits here. So that's as you can see, those the value, previous value change, get change in price, get change in percentage, get average last, 52 high, 52 low. These functions are available also for RSM. So the value means give me the current week's RSM value. Previous value means give me previous week's RSM value. Change in price is actual RSM change. The difference, the change in percentage compares with this week's RSM value. Change in price compared to its previous week's RSM value. Same with the price, you can say RSM up 200 or 20%, 2% or 30%. If it's negative value means, so RSM is actually less than previous RSM value, and it's sloping down, and then that value is counting to a percentage compared to previous one. So that one is the same meaning with the price, get change in percentage. I mean, that's the same formula, but it just reflects different value. Okay, so others are exactly the same. Instead of giving you the price all-time high, this time it's give you the RSM all-time high and RSM values all-time low. There are lots of functions available here. Not every one of them are very useful in terms of the RSM. So I'm going to show you some of the function that could be very useful, for in terms of RSM. Okay, let's go back to our application. First function I want to use is the value. So the value will return this setups the RSM value. The value is just current week's RSM value. So if you specify that and say larger than, because the float value, give it the float, because this one calculates a float value, so you cannot use another type. If you use another type, not allowed, it doesn't allow you to save. So you're saying float. So give me this one. If I click save condition, as you can see, the values get saved. So what's that mean for this condition? So this condition means give me this RSM value. The RSM is comparing the any security with the overall market. The overall market is the caret AXJO, which means Australia top 200 market index value. So any security is outperform the overall market, and then will be shown in our market scan. So if I create a market scan by using this condition, because that value has to be larger than 0. So which means give me all the stocks at the moment for this week. Its RSM is above the 0 lines. Okay, and then ignoring all the shares at the moment is underperform, so that will not included in this filter because I use large than 0. If I change it to less than, that's another story. If I save it, that becomes give me all the underlying security which is underperform the market. So for now, let's just scan I outperform the market by using this single condition. Let's create a market scan, but before that I give it a nice name for this condition, for this filter. Okay, I give it a sentiment bullish. Alright, now let's go into our market scan management. As you can see, I already still have some of the OBV related market scan here. I will delete them. Just make everything clear and I create a new one. So I give it a name for this condition that we're going to use. So first of all, the time period, I'm going to scan to the last Friday. It's at 24th of December. The market I'm going to scan is ASX 200. So I select here to select this one to the right hand side, selected market tree. So that will specify which market we're going to scan. Finally, we are picking up the filter. That one is only one appears in that tree, so that's the one we just created here. Okay, so everything's set up nicely. Let's do a market scan. So when you click that star, you give it a summary, everything looks fine, and you click OK. So 95 shares are outperforming the market at 24th of December 2021. Let's refresh the tree and double click the results. As you can see, this is the results that we can get here. Okay, so let's take a look. Some of them might look this one is a obviously a downtrend, but the current couple of weeks is uptrend. We're not sure is RSM is right now is outperformed, so let's just double click this shares and then take out, and let's bring up the RSM. So in this RSM, we need to specify the same XJO. We're using the same market. So you might, yes, this time, as you can see, maybe it's slightly bigger than zero because it's from the chart. It's it looks like it's tipping to that zero, not very clear, but I think underlying data is just a little bit slightly larger than zero. Uh, so that's this flight center stock. So if we take a look at another one, RSM, X, um, XJO. Let's copy that one. Okay. See here is also slightly above zero line. If you, yeah, so this one is not very obvious as well, but it's just slightly above zero, almost close. Let's take a look at CWN, Cron Casino. Yes, this one is is more obvious because it's above the zero line. So which means this stock is outperforming the market by some value instead of slightly above zero. This one is very obvious. The value is more than zero and stays in green color and above the zero line. So that means this security stock is outperforming the market. Let's take a look at the last one. CHC. So I think this is going to be more obvious. Yes. So this one is well below. This stock is well above the zero line, which means it is outperforming the market for some time. Okay. So I think this. If you go back to the conditions, so this function, this filter, right? Just to get the first function value and compare with another constant value can give you some information, which means give you all the stocks that is over the zero, which is outperforming the market, right? So that's the first function. Okay, let's create another one. Let's come back to here later. So let's just create another filter. Select add a condition. Left hand side, we select RSM. We give it a 52 weeks code comparison. We're going to compare with the overall market, AXJO. Weekly chart we're going to use, and value. So this one is going to be a previous value. So let's select the previous. The previous value function give us the last week's RSM value. Okay. So this time, we're going to do something different. So let's say this week, I'm going to set up a condition. Say last week, this RSM value is less or equals to 0. Okay. Okay, so I'm selecting so I'm using the previous value function. So the first condition is give me all the stocks that previous week's RSM value is equals or less than 0, which means previous week this stock is underperform the market. And I'm gonna add another condition using the same RSM indicator, and this time I'm using value. So that means give me this week's RSM value. So this week's I need to specify that value is larger than 0. Okay, so this filter is gonna give us a very interesting results, which means it will give us all the security that this week is outperforming the market, but last week is underperforming the market. So I'm kind of scanning for a tipping point or turning point. Give me all this kind of security has the turning point, and this week is start to outperform the market. So because we can add as many as conditions together inside one filter, so that will combine these two conditions together to find a turning point. So the name, you cannot just copy any one of them, so you can give it a RSM turning out perform the market. So you give it a generic name to describe this scenario. So give it a sentiment which bullish. Now let's going to create another market scan. So I like to use the same name for the market scan. Okay, and also I'm gonna scan ASX 200 market, and this time I'm gonna use in the second one RSM turning outperform the market. So I'm using this filters. Remember, this one includes two conditions. Let's see what we're gonna find, because I have never done that before. So I'm also curious about what we can find from this market scan. Okay, let's do it. And the second one, click that start button. Have a quick look these conditions we're using now. Previous week less or equals to 0, but this week is larger than 0. Okay, looks right. Let's do it. Okay, well, we find 12 results here. So the 12 stocks actually start to outperform the market from this week, but last week still underperformed the market. AWC, let's just take a look this one first, and then let's bring up the RSM indicator. AXJO. Okay, as you can see here, it's quite interesting. This week is above the 0, right here is tipping up, and the last week is below or equals to 0. So pretty much here. Yeah, so maybe using that one is better. So as you can see, last week is equals to 0, but this week is above the 0, so that's the tipping point. And this scan gave us the correct results. We can see this security is actually at the tipping point. From this week, it starts to outperform the market. Okay, let's take a look at another one, BRG. So as you can see, every time we have to open the RSM, we have to click here and open XJO, we select, we bring up here. What about, there is a very convenient way, is if you want to okay, so that's fine. So as you can see, I thought I can save this condition, but it doesn't allow me to save it. Anyway, so this week is RSM value right here is outperforming the market, but last week is below the 0 line, so it's underperforming the market. So this is another one that fulfilled this condition. Yes. Let's take a look. The last one. Let's take a look. The LNK, the Link Administration Holdings. Let's bring up our RSM. XJO. So this one is more obvious. As you can see, this week has a long up bar for this week, and sometimes the fill path doesn't show the green part because this one is very small. So you need to uncheck that fill path to see more clearly. In this RSM value, this week actually is outperforming the market. As you can see, it breaks above that 0 line, but last week it stays below the zero line, so right here. So actually this stock is from this week is entering a turning point. It turns from underperforming market to outperforming market, and you can combine with another kind of analysis and decide, do you want to get into this stock for next week or not. So this one, and you can set a stop loss right here, and you're assuming the stock will keep outperforming the market. You can get you can decide it by using combined with other type of technical analysis, but this scan give us the correct result. Okay, so this is another one. I have used two functions here, and actually in this entire filter we're using two functions. One is value, another one is the previous value for the RSM. Now I'm going to create another okay, let's come back to indicator filters. Let's come back to add a new filter. So this time, let me tell you guys another function. Again, we're using AXJO. This because this is our overall market index value. So chart type still using we're going to use the weekly chart as well. So let's take a look at the functions here. What else we can use? So how about this one? First of all, I want to say, so let's say this week. So let's say using the first condition, I'm still using the value, but this value has to be less than 0. I want to find a bearish scan. So okay, first condition is the current week's RSM is less than 0. Okay, so it's underperforming the market. Let's save it, and let's create another condition. And also I requires my RSM line is sloping down since last peak. So not only it's underperformed the market, but also the direction is keeping moving lower. So this time using this sloping down since last peak, because this function tells us the direction where this RSM chart is pointing to. So it's pointing lower, and because this function starts from is, so this function requires a is true or is false as the operator, and this function doesn't use the right indicator at all, so we just leave it as this. But we select is true from here and then select save condition. So once I save it, as you can see, first of all, it will give me all the security that RSM for the current week is less than 0, which means it's underperforming the market. Second one is I want to see RSM line is pointing down, is sloping down since last peak. With these two conditions combined, we constitute this indicator filter. We give it a generic name, RSM turning underperform the market. Okay, and I give it a bearish sentiment. Okay, now let's create a market scan by using this filter. I already create a template here. Let me just give it a name as turning underperform the market. Okay, so leave it as leave everything else is okay. I can give it a bearish sentiment, and then front and two dates, leave it as it is. I'm gonna scan up to last Friday. I have to tell the scanner which market I'm gonna scan, so which means stocks ASX 200. Double click that and it comes to the right hand side. That means I select it. Now I need to select the correct filter, the indicator filter, turning underperform the market, that guy. Okay, everything's set up correctly. Let's go into run the scan. The second one, haven't run it yet. Let's click that start button. So as you can see, that's a nice summary is displayed here. That's the conditions that we're going to use, and we'll click OK. Interesting, we got a 45 results. Come back to here and refresh the result tree. Double click that green result here. So a couple of them are fulfill these conditions. So first of all, let's take a look at the first one. ANZ, this is a big bank stock, New Zealand and Australia banking group. So again, let's bring up our RSM. Okay, it's compared with overall market. Okay, interesting. So as you can see here, first of all, this week has to be in red color because it's underperformed the market. Right, that's correct. And also, it is sloping down since last peak, right? So from here, it's sloping down. So this RSM is pointing down. So this means weakening. The underlying security is weakening compared to the overall market. It's keep weakening, even though it's still very close to zero, but it's pointing down. So that fulfills our criteria. Okay. Another one, ASB, Astor. Don't know what is that company's doing, but let's just bring up RSM. So RSM for this one is underperforming the market, right? But it's not sloping down, but maybe from the zero it's slightly sloping down, but we can't see from here. It's just slightly, pointing down. As you can see, it's almost flattering, but yeah, this one is fulfills the condition, even though it's not that obvious. Okay, let's take a look at BHP because it looks like it's tipping up. You have to click anything here and you typing that AXJO, it will appear. Okay, so this one is even more interesting because looks like from the chart it's just it's flattering. It's closing the same closing than previous week, but the RSM line actually it stays below the zero line, which means BHP was underperforming the market, right? But and also if we zoom up a little bit, zoom out a little bit, as you can see, zoom in a little bit, and you can see this RSM indicator line actually pointing down. That means it is weakening compared to the overall market, and it stays in underperformed territory, right, in red. Okay, so that's pretty much for that one. Let's come back to here. As you can see, this time I combined a value with another function. It's sloping down since last week. Okay, let's create another filter by using another function. I'm comparing this all the stock with overall market AXJO, and I'm using weekly chart options. This time I'm using value. So this time I'm saying, okay, I'm gonna ask all the bullish stocks. First of all, you have to be outperform the market. So that value of this week's RSM value has to be larger than 0. So you must select the float, otherwise you'll not be able to save it. The float type is the RSM value. It's a floating type of value, so using float. Okay, so let's save the condition. So this first condition is saying our current week's RSM value has to be larger than 0. And then let's add another one more function. condition, sorry. So this time I'm gonna using second one. So it's sloping up since last 12, right? Not only it stays above the zero, but also it has to be pointing up. So it's keep moving up. So I want to see all these type of stocks as a bullish collection. So again, this one is true or is false type of function. If you select that is something, you have to specify is true or is false. So this for this case, for this example, I'm gonna using is true. All right, I'm set up everything and save the condition. And as you can see, this pair of conditions specified here. The second one is sloping up since last 12 must be true. Let's say give it a generic name, RSM above 0 and sloping up. Okay, so let's just say this is weekly ending compared to AXJO 52 weeks. Okay, so it is a weekly ISM. Yeah, I'm happy with this description because when I just read that, I know what exactly this condition probably is doing here. Okay, give it a bullish sentiment this time. When I double click, as you can see, the filter color turns into green. All right, now let's create another market scan. Right click, so market scan, right click and add a market scan. Give it a name, above 0 and sloping up. That's correct. And then give it a sentiment as bullish as well. This time we are select this ASX 200. That's market we're going to scan. And finally, we specify the indicator filters that we want to use in this market scan, which is this guy. Okay, we are finishing up setting up all these details for market scan. Now let's go into the control panel, and do an actual scan. So I have to make sure that's the one we want to run. Okay, that's correct. Let's click star. Yeah, this week's RSM above 0 and sloping up since last 12, and let's do the scan. Okay, also we have 46 results. Interesting. Let's come back to the result set, refresh the result tree. Here is our result. Double click on that. We found all the bullish candidates here. Let's examine a couple of them to make sure the result is correct. Let's take a look at the second one. It's actually moving down, but indicator returns this stock. I don't know why. Let's take a look at that. RSM, circumflex, AXJO. That's the overall market index. Okay, as you can see here, even though the stock is moving down, but from this week it's tipping up, but entire movement it stays above the 0. So that's the first condition is fulfilled, is outperform the market, and also it's turning up, right? So it looks like we found a support here, and it's start to outperform the market again because that's RSM chart, the line is moving up. Okay, so that's the correct result. Okay, let's find out the another one, the ALX. So it looks like it's in a very long time consolidation. It doesn't break the new high yet. But take a look at the RSM. Right. So in the past couple of months, it stays underperforming the market, but here, this week, it stays above. It already stays above the 0 line, which starts to outperform the market, and also it's tipping up. Right. It's ticking up here. Not very obvious, but yes, it's moving up. So another one is correct. Let's Just moving down because you got quite a bit of results here. Let's just take a look. The IPH. Randomly pick up some of them. Just let's review the results here. Give it that one again. Yes, this one looks correct as well, even though it's not obvious, but here it's ticking up and also stays above the zero line, right? So this one is correct as well. As you can see, once you have some of the candidate, for example, the market scan, this time the sentiment underlying behind the market scan is bullish, so you still need to review it by first of all looking at the the overall the looking at the preview line chart here and find the correct one. So for example, I really like this one because this breaks that consolidation. So I want to take a look in the detail for this chart. So basically this one is this share is actually breaks above that well, that's rectangle, but that rectangle seems it's a pretty big rectangle area. So it looks like it just breaks up that trading range and it's moving above. Let's take a look at the RSM. Oops. So it should be using this one, AXJO. Yes, so it starts to, okay, as you can see, the current week, this one is moving up, and then this green line, the RSM line, is ticking up, so it stays above the zero and outperform the market. And this is very good buying opportunity because you can set the stop loss as $42 something, so that's the upper band of this rectangle trading range. So you can buy sometime next week if it's probably a good buy because good entry point here. Yeah, I mean that's just for an example. So this one is a very good one, and it's also fulfilled the conditions that we just set it up. Okay. This one, I like this one as well because it's creating the all-time high. It's not far away from its all-time high. Up, it's going above. It do not have any resistance. Same with that the next one. It's not far away from its all-time high. So let's take a look at the RSM. Yep. So this one is just above the zero line, is ticking up, and also it's not far away from zero, so it looks like this has some consolidation for the previous month, and it's trading in this upper widget pattern. So as you can see, this looks like, is that possible to keep going up to here to hit another top of the trading range? I'm not sure. So but this one, it gave us the good, this one gave us the right stocks that fulfills that conditions. Okay, I'm not going more, so let's close that one, so let's explain a little bit more about the RSM related functions. I think that one could be the last one I want to show you. 52. Okay, let's take a look at the functions. Okay, so we have already showed you the value, previous value, and that is very useful for this type of indicator, RSM, and also the direction related is sloping up and down since last peak or since last trough, or sloping flat. I've never shown anything like this because it's very rare. I mean, the 2 weeks RSM stayed flat. It means nothing. It doesn't give us too much information, but I'm really interested in is the actual direction is pointing up or pointing down. Plus, with the value, it's above the zero line or below the zero line, so this kind of combination can give us more information. But you guys can explore other functions and put it in the market scan and see how you can use it. So, but for this video tutorial, I think I have already showed you guys where to find the documentation. Okay, it's right here. And what we had a brief review of the RSM indicator itself, right? And finally, we have created a set of markets indicator filters around the RSM indicators, and we explore some of the useful functions. I think that could be useful for you as well. And we create a market scan to review the market scan results. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything in this video tutorial. I might skip some of the contents, but I want to so I haven't explored each individual functions because I don't think those functions are very, suitable by use together with RSM. It's gonna return some of the value, but I don't think it's gonna mean. I don't think this gave us too much useful information. Instead of all the functions I have already created in in these indicator filters, so those functions are quite useful. Maybe you guys have more thoughts, can put it in your comments. If you have any questions, also can give us comments, so we'll try to answer your questions below. And I think that's pretty much everything for this tutorial. Thanks for your time and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video tutorial. Bye for now.